Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Absolutely delighted today to be joined by another professional boxer. This one is undefeated, 15-0 with 9 KOs as well. How are you doing, Mr. Brad Pauls?
I'm very good, mate. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be on the show.
We finally nailed you down, mate. I thought we was going to have to drive to Essex this afternoon.
Yeah, sorry about that, but here I am, finally. Cheers,
No, not a problem, mate. You're glad to have you on. How you doing, Shane? Are you all right, matey?
Not too bad, mate. Glad to be here again as usual. Nice, like I say, have Brad on the show tonight. Nice to have a professional on. So yeah, just can't wait for the interview. Been waiting for it for a while, to be honest. And obviously, me and Tom were speaking about it previously, and I think Tom told me about the interview probably just before your last fight, and we was thinking, bloody hell, please win that fight. Glad to be you won it. That was good.
Yeah, I'm just a bit elusive, to be honest, with trying to pin me down for interviews and that, but it's nothing personal. But yeah, I made sure I won for you, because no one wants to speak for a loser, do they? So
yeah, that's it, mate. If you'd have lost, we'd have never spoken to you again. Yeah. But just jumping straight in, mate, the last few months has been, significant for you. You signed for Wasserman, a big promotional company. Just talk to us about the last few months and how it has been for you personally.
Yeah, it's been good overall. Happy to fight again. Obviously, I boxed last month, and I've signed my first ever TV contract in the last, I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago. So it's big movements in my life, and it's appreciated. I've been pro 6 years, and I've never had a little look in on the TV or anything like that. I've always been doing it on the small wall, building myself up, and glad to get an opportunity finally. I've been doing it on stealth mode my career so far. Now it's off stealth mode. People can see me on the TV and see what I'm about.
No, I totally agree. When you're fighting on small hall shows, you can be the most talented fighter in the world. However, if there's a capacity of 1,000 or maybe 1,200, your skills are only being shown to a certain amount of people. But, coming onto a platform like Sky Sports, potentially hundreds of thousands of people watching you, that must give you, I don't know, so much extra motivation just to get your head down and crack on.
Yeah, different level. And Sky as well. I think Sky is the biggest platform because they've built up so many years, really established. And it'll be surreal for me to box on Sky. Like, I've seen like my pal Linus box on Sky and stuff, but I've never had the opportunity. So yeah, anything I've got to do in training, I'm doing it, because I'm not going to come this far just to lose on TV. Do you know what I mean? So
100%. Again, when you think of boxing, Sky Sports, I was going to ask you. So I don't want you to, tell us too much about the ins and outs of your particular deal, but how does the deal work? Is it like a year deal? Is it based on the fact that you win your fights? How is that?
So it's a 3-fight deal, and it should run the course of about a year. If for some reason or another it goes shorter or longer or something, it's fine. But it will be 3 fights, and Steve, my manager, was meticulous in the contract negotiations, where I'm not going to be used and abused like you can be in professional boxing. You get really hard fights and you're not looked after properly. So he's made it so it's on my terms, and I win all 3 fights. I have the option to renew for another 3 fights. If I happen to lose, I still get to have a comeback fight with them. So the contract's bulletproof. This is all stuff for a manager, but he's made it so it suits me, and I'm not getting used and abused.
Looking at some of the fighters that Wasserman have got as well, I was having a look. Obviously got yourself recently signed, Nathan Gorman, Josh Kelly, and quite a significant name in boxing, Chris Eubank. So when I saw that you done a little bit on IFL a little while ago, you went up to the offices, spoke about signing. But when you're looking around and you're seeing those sort of level of fighters, it must sort of make you pinch yourself a little bit and actually look back and think, yeah, do you know what, that hard work that I was putting in on the small hall shows, now to be with Wasserman fighting on Sky Sports.
Yeah, mad. Yeah, we went to that media day, and I've never left something so buzzing in my life. Just a pure motivation, because a lot of these guys I've watched on TV for years. Like, I'm just a normal fan like anyone else as well. And then to know they're part of the same team as me is crazy. Like, and I was going around getting pictures of everyone, speaking to everyone. George Groves was there, speaking to Groves for a bit. and it's just wild. And I think it made me realise how good that stable is, because that day they announced all them other fighters, and I thought it was just going to be Chris Eubank. When they announced Josh Kelly and all these other fighters, they're different fighters where they could headline on their own, I think. So yeah, so it's good. It's good. Glad to be part of it, mate.
I think Tom, I was thinking, obviously, where you are now and everything, you're sort of like you're getting to the limelight now. But I was thinking, obviously, like you say, 6 years being a boxer now. I think, obviously, as an amateur, you was like 44 and 56 or something. So you've got like a good amateur pedigree. So you sort of brought that into your boxing. I think I read somewhere you ended up leaving Newquay to go Southampton, become a personal trainer, or to go uni to
yeah, that's right,
become a personal trainer. How was that? How did that sort of pan out? And the personal trainer, was you thinking, right, if I get this under my belt, this will go side by side with the boxing, this is going to help me?
A little bit, yeah. Like when I started boxing out, I was 10 years old in Newquay, and then if you ever boxed or boxed in Cornwall, it's few and far between. Like, it's not the land of opportunity. So I was always dedicated and did everything I could, but I just know I'd never get anywhere in Cornwall. So went to college, and I knew that if I made it up country into a bigger city where boxing thrived, my chances would be better. So I got into Southampton Solent when I was 18, and that's when I started to progress, because I was sparring better people, it was better training, I had more opportunities, more championships. And I think I got there, I won my first 12 fights, got a national title, national ranking within my first 2 seasons. But I was good enough, but I just couldn't progress in Cornwall. So yeah, so I went to, that's the only reason I went to uni, was to box. So
I saw your video actually on your Instagram where you was filming yourself like on telly, and I think it said something like the first bloke from this area to win a professional fight in X amount of years. So I totally understand what you're saying.
yeah, it's just I think there's maybe me and one other pro boxer from Cornwall, so it's not the land of opportunity, but yeah, representing Cornwall all the way though. Still, it's good.
Yeah, but I think with that, a lot of people might not know sort of like the Southwest. There's sort of like a lot of pride in the area, sort of like whether you're from Devon, Somerset, Cornwall. I don't think people realise the sort of like the pride that people have down that neck of the woods. I know a lot of people down that area. I live down there a bit myself from time to time, so there's a lot of sort of rivalries in there. I'm thinking, obviously, I think you bought Darren Cordona at your call for your first title.
Yeah.
I was wondering, obviously, that's the first step into something where you're sort of like title wise. How did that feel? What was that sort of like that evening like?
Yeah, it was good. I think it was my first. No, I boxed one okay before. I think it was my first step where if I wasn't 100%, I could have lost the fight. So I needed to really step my game up. But I was so motivated, because I knew if I would have won that, I'd be the first Cornishman in 100 years to win a pro boxing title. So I had extra motivation. But yeah, I was just boxed well, stopped him, third round. It was good.
Yeah, and then obviously I'm thinking about about your Cornish, your roots and everything. Then obviously you defended the title at Plymouth Guildhall against Robbie Chapman. I hear that you took about 200 Cornishmen to that fight. I'm just thinking, what was that atmosphere like? That must have been something special.
Insane, yeah. So I think I sold, how many was it? It was like 280, 290 tickets, but the venue was packed out, pretty much sold out. Supporter gets crazy because I don't think they have no one else to support from Cornwall. So if they like boxing, they have to support me because there's no one else. So they're stuck with me. It's not because they like me. But yeah, it's different. It's really intimate atmosphere on Plymouth. Like, it's sort of like your call. It's sort of on top of each other a little bit. But yeah, and did it in style. Got another stoppage. The crowd liked it. And when I boxed last month, they all seemed to come back and still wanted to support. So I was really happy.
I was thinking that night after the Robbie Chapman fight, Union Street must have been a bit lively. Was you out there that night? Because that's going to be a bit naughty there.
Yeah.
Just
because you're a tearaway, Shane, mate, doesn't mean everyone is.
I was in bed, me. I'm with Domino's. I was celebrating with everyone, thanking everyone for coming, but yeah, I didn't party too hard that night.
No, that's good. That's good to hear. But then I was thinking, I'm looking at your mate Linus, who's got, I think he's like 17 and 9 KOs. I think you've got a very similar record. Sort of might be 15-0, 9 KOs. Linus is obviously in your stable at the minute. Obviously, I think is he middleweight English champion at the minute?
He vacated, Linus, so someone else is for it, but he's mandatory for the British, and Cash just vacated, so he'll be fighting for it soon.
So does that mean potentially that's something you'll be looking at soon, and a fight with, for instance, Linus in the future? What I was trying to get at, do you think, because you're two top prospects, and I'm going to say both of you are two top prospects, do you think it's a fight that will happen a year, 2 years down the line? Obviously your mates and everything, but if it comes to like a big title, you put that to the side, don't you?
I just, because we speak about it and we get asked quite a lot, and it's there's no way it could possibly happen. Like, where would the coach go? We have the same coach. We've both turned pro at the same time, sparred a million rounds of each other, and none of us are going to leave that trainer, so we're probably going to stay with him. It would just happen to be at the same level at the same time, but we would just have to navigate around titles for each other because our coach won't let it happen, and I don't know how logistically it would happen if our coach can't be in whose corner.
Yeah, doing so many rounds in sparring as well. I'd imagine you just know each other's sort of like tricks, game plan.
Honestly, it probably end up being a really boring fight. Like, we've sparred honestly so many rounds of each other. Yeah, know every single trick. I really rate Linus. I have a lot of respect for him, but we're just gonna have to go different directions. And there's a lot of belts in boxing, so I'm sure we can navigate around it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can take a different direction. I just want to go back to the small hall shows as well. We've had a lot of boxers on the channel over the last few weeks that are fighting on small hall shows, York Hall and so on, that don't have the luxury of just focusing on their boxing. A lot of them are working full-time jobs or working around a job, have a family, putting in the training and selling tickets. We spoke to a fighter last week that said he had to sell, I think it was like 60, 70 tickets before he even made a pound. And for yourself, Brad, I know you was there only a little while ago. How hard is that?
Honestly, I think I'm fortunate where I've got sponsors and I don't have to work all the time. But any fighter who works a full-time job, prepares for a fight and sells tickets, will just have the utmost respect for me, because that has got to be one of the hardest things you could possibly do in all different aspects, because you've got to promote yourself, you've got to make weight, you've got to sell tickets, you've got to be physically fit and ready, you've got to be mentally ready, and then work a full-time job as well. It's but people do these things with the hope that they are going to go to that next level, and it's a brutal sport, boxing. Probably 1% of all the people that try make it to that next level.
Yeah,
so,
we were saying, you put on Sky, you put on the Zone or on other, BT or whatever the platform is. You see your Joshua's, your Furies, and so on, and they're debating on how many millions they want to make. But I think since we've been doing this podcast, we've learned that there's a lot of pressure on these fighters. And not only that, if you've sold 50, 60 tickets and you've got a little bit of a niggle, the chances are that you're still going to jump in, because calling off a fight or pulling out, and you've got to say, I'm sorry, I'm not fighting. We spoke to Jack Hughes, and he was saying that once you do that once, people are so sort of hesitant to buy tickets from you again.
Yeah, it's brutal. Like, there's a lot of pressure on you, and sometimes I've boxed in the past where I've had fights at York Hall, and I've lost 400 quid, I've lost 300 quid. But you just got to do them things to get to the next step. And yeah, all the pressure's on you. You sell all the tickets, so it's down to you whether you fight or not. And if you don't, there's repercussions.
No, of course, there's lots of pressure on fighters. Just going back a couple of years as well, I know that you were out the ring a long time. I saw an interview you did, and you were talking about getting a job for the first time being an adult. How was that, and that sort of process?
Yeah, it was wild. It was absolutely wild, mate. I got a job. I worked in a special needs school with a variety of like learning difficulties, epilepsy, autism, and stuff like that. Sort of like a care worker, and it was real tough So respect to anyone who does that job, but I'd work with a lot of like the bad behavior kids, and they would try and punch me and kick me and throw knives at me and stuff. So a few of the boxing skills come in handy when I was trying to dodge out of the way. I wasn't allowed to hit them back or nothing. So
you got to work in defence a little bit, not just what you.
Plus my head movement was spot on. But yeah, it just I understood I had to do that job until my sponsors came back. So it was just to see me through until I could fight again. But yeah, just respect to anyone who does them jobs, because that's tough.
And what about making weight when you're continuously fighting, training, and watching what you eat? And during the pandemic, obviously all the shows were shut. So to get the call, we're back on. I know you've had the fight last month, but obviously going forward now, are you someone that makes weight quite easily, or are you?
I'll be honest, I don't make it easily. Nah, I wish I did. Some fighters do. They have different genetics, and everyone makes weight differently. But I'm just not one of them guys who sits around the weight. That's just me. Like, I have to be very disciplined, meticulous, and calculated, and bring my weight down gradually, and then a few little tricks at the end to get it spot on. But I feel amazing on fight day. But it was weird making weight again, because I hadn't done it for so long. But because I was just so happy to fight, I was just happy to do all of these things that I don't normally like doing. And yeah, it was just one of those things. It's part of the job. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter, because it's something you're going to have to do. So yeah.
And what about going into the sort of the last week, and you are a little bit over? What do you do to really get it off? I've seen a lot of online videos of people doing certain things, but for yourself personally, what do you do?
I sort of, if I get to like a certain weight where I'm near-ish, and then I know the rest of it is going to be water coming out of me, like dehydration. So there's a few little tricks. If you take a certain amount of vitamin C, it's a diuretic, so it flushes you out. You do that before you go to bed, and it takes about 1 kilo off. And then yeah, sometimes if you got to sweat out, you got to sweat out. But I was speaking to George Groves at that media day, and I was thinking, like, telling him like how I sort of make weight, and he was saying he used to get to about 81 kilos, and then he would dehydrate. So he dehydrate 4 and a bit kilos.
Bloody hell.
And I was like, mine isn't that bad, so I felt all right about how I do it. But yeah, it was wild. And he's big. He's a big lad. He's tall. He's got like broad shoulders and that. But then every fight is different. So yeah, I'd rather eat what I want and be a heavyweight, but you can't have that, can you? It's not... No,
of course. They get to just kind of whatever they want, really. But going back to your deal with Wasserman and Sky. Shane was touching upon the route you were going down, whether English, British, or and so on. But obviously with Eubank there as well, all being well, you win your 3 fights, and maybe a couple of years down the line, that could be a juicy little bust up down the line somewhere. Yeah,
I think that's probably their idea, is to progress me at the right pace and build me into a position where a massive domestic fight with someone like Eubank is possible. And it's not that crazy to think about it. Like, if I do win these next 3 fights and I get a legitimate belt and whatever Eubank's doing, it's possible for me or Linus. So yeah, it'd be a good fight, I think.
Yeah, all being well, you go in there, you've got a good knockout ratio. I know I spoke to you on the phone a little while ago. You weren't overly pleased with your last performance, but for having 2 years out of the ring, probably wasn't a bad thing to get some rounds under your belt.
Yeah, no, it's I'm glad I had that little lesson before I went on TV. It sort of worked out perfect, like, because I could feel I was a bit rusty in there. Like, I'd step back and I'd get hit with a shot, and straight away out of my head I'd be like, why did I get hit with that? I shouldn't have got hit with that. And you want to do one thing, but your body's not cooperating. So yeah, I was a bit rusty, but it's 2 years out the ring, and it was everything. It was making weight again, selling tickets again, doing the whole process again wasn't easy. So yeah, but I'm glad I got it out of the way, and then I'll be sharper for the next one.
Yeah, sorry, Tom. I was just say, with the fights, something that you've got lined up, the 3 fights, what's the kind of the time frame between the fights? What are you wanting to do? How many fights are you wanting to do at what period? 6 months? What's the aim to keep Jimmy not being rusty? What is the aim?
Yeah, it's just to get out as soon as possible. Steve's got a meeting on Friday with the Nissa and Kalla, and I'll know for definite my next fight date then. So I've been waiting to find out. I wanted it to be this year. Obviously, I'm fresh off a win, the ring rust gone, but there's a few dates in December they're toying with and sort of like possibly announcing shows. But if it's not then I'll have to wait until February, and then probably another 4 months after that, and then do it like that. But I'd rather fight sooner than get out again in March and April, and then just not waste any more time.
So ideally, like 4-month intervals between fights. If you had your own way, that's what you'd prefer.
Yeah. I think that's about right. Like if I can get them 3 fights in that 1 year period, I'll be really happy. But I've just wasted 2 years sitting out the ring, so sooner the better. I don't want to waste any more time. I really want to fight in December, and I'll find out on Friday. So get the ball rolling straight away.
Fingers crossed for that one.
With you fighting on Sky Sports, though, I can imagine potentially, you've got a decent following as it is, but your following could double overnight once you get on one of their shows. You put on a good performance, you knock someone out, you go from someone that might be very well known in certain areas, but all of a sudden overnight, the whole nation know about you. Yeah,
that's it. Especially with the power of social media. If you get a highlight reel knockout and it falls on the right laps and it goes viral, then it can change everything.
Yeah, that's it. It's not just Sky that fight. It's Sky Sports, all the other outlets they have. I was going to ask you, with Eddie Hearn taking his stable to DAZN, how much of an opportunity is that given other fighters? Because of course Sky had to go out. I think they worked with Boxer and Wasserman. So have you seen many other fighters get TV deals on the back of that?
Yeah, I think that's where it all changed. I think Eddie Hearn sort of had the monopoly over the TV fighters. So when he went to DAZN and left Sky, it sort of left a gap in the market where he took his fighters with him, and they needed sort of the other fighters that are left. And that's worked out perfect for someone like me, because to be honest, I probably might not have got signed up by Eddie Hearn unless I took a really risky fight or done something like that. So it changed the whole landscape of the boxing, and now there's boxing everywhere. Like, is it this weekend they've got is it Channel 5 have got a show, BT have got a show, DAZN have got a show, and I did it the other day. I had my laptop has Sky on it, and I had my TV had BT on it, and I just think more boxing the better. Like, I love it. So more opportunities for more fighters like me trying to come through and get a chance.
When you mentioned about the potential, for instance, to go to like Eddie Hearn to take a risky fight, is that the sort of thing that are on the cards for some boxers? So some boxers are out there, Eddie Hearn might come in with come on, add this fight. It's a double risky fight for you. If you lose it, you go nowhere. But if you win, then all of a sudden you're in his eyes.
Yeah, but then it's on what terms? So you're not going to be the home fighter. You're going to be the away fighter. If it's close, you'll lose. The referee's going to be on their side. And you sort of, I get the vibe, you're sort of selling your soul a little bit, because obviously, naturally, they're going to look after the home fighter. And if you want to take that risk, and it might not be for as much money as it could be, but you just dying to get on TV and do it that way, you sort of sell your soul a little bit. So I'd rather do it on my terms and build myself up and get what I'm worth, maybe a little bit slower.
Almost sounds like that's almost like the dark side of boxing, isn't it? That you don't get to hear about, you don't know about, to be honest.
Yeah, like you build yourself up and they go, right, okay, we want you on this show. And then if you win, you can have another fight deal, but you have to fight another one of our better fighters.
Right.
And it's in the contract like that. So you have no freedom, you have no options, you won't get built up. Or you don't fight on TV. So it's political, and that's the side I don't really enjoy in boxing. I just enjoy the fighting bit. So all these other things you sort of learn as you go along. Like, it's nothing you know when you first turn professional. It's very business-like, and so, but it's It's always going to be that way. It's about money.
Sounds like you've got good people though behind you, mate. You know, with your best interests at heart.
Yeah, Steve looks after me. Got a good coach. Like I said about the contract, he made it so it's
Steve Goodwin?
Not me getting used. Yeah, so it's works out good.
How are you before a fight? Because where you were fighting on small hall shows, still, you know, take nothing away from it. 1,000 people watching you have a fight, you know. But now knowing that you're going to be on telly, being broadcasted across the nation, how are you in a fight and thinking about that? Are you someone that gets pretty nervous, or do you think, well, actually, I've put all the work in camp, I've just got to go out there now?
I can't lie. It's definitely going to add some pressure, and I can't say it's anything I'm used to that I've done before. Like, I haven't done it, so I don't know yet. But there's a few things I do in training and stuff that help me with my nerves. I do get a little bit nervous. Like I write a training diary, and some other fighters do it. But before a fight, I flick through the diary and I look at all the sessions I've done. So I write everything down, and it makes my nerves go away because I realise how ready I am. I don't need to be nervous. But I think it's just something I'm going to have to do to get used to it, and it's something I haven't done before, so I'm just going to get cracking.
No, of course. I think whatever your thing is to make you feel more comfortable, then, you know, you just got to do it. Going back to Eubank as well, I saw today that there's the fight that should be announced over the next few days, him fighting Liam Williams, which I think is going to be a good dust up. Would like to get your prediction on that.
Tough one, because
it is a tough fight. I think it's a
real tough fight. Like, and obviously Eubank's part of my sort of stable sort of thing. So I should be like, I should be like, Eubank will smash him up, but I don't know, man. I think I rate Williams, and I think it's a tough fight. Can't sit on the fence. All right, Williams probably on point. If I was gonna.
Very, very honest with you, because I'd like to ask you as well about Billy Joe. I know that, you know, she lost to Canelo a little while ago now, but I think maybe a rematch with Canelo or a domestic bust up with Eubank, that might get him out of retirement. What if that happens again? How do you see it going?
It's hard because you think Eubank should improve working with Roy, but is it a little too late for him to change his whole style and learn how to box? I feel like Eubank's strengths, he's got a good engine and power and speed and stuff, but there is vulnerabilities around his boxing skill set. So I'd probably go Billy Joe again, to be honest. Yeah,
a part of me feels like Billy Joe, you know, he's gone out and earned millions, you know, throughout his boxing career, you know, 2-time world champion, brilliant fighter. I sort of feel like, is he still hungry? But then I suppose unless the fight makes sense and it gets him out of bed in the morning, then he's not going to take it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, would love to see it. I think domestically it would be a brilliant fight.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'll get on the undercard for that, hopefully.
Oh no, absolutely. We before you was coming on here, we put out on our social media platform that you were coming on. We asked just the people that follow the page if they had any questions for you. So we got a couple, if you don't mind answering them.
Yeah, go for it, mate. Yeah, go on.
So of course we're obviously going to predominantly talk about boxing, but someone asked, you know, what does Mr. Brad Pauls do outside of boxing? What do you do, you know, to switch off, relax, unwind?
I'll go back to Cornwall any chance I get, to be honest. And when I'm back in Cornwall, like kayaking, cliff jumping, surfing. But like a normal lad, mate. Like if I'm allowed, I'll go to the pub with my mates. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm all for the boxing, you know. Like, I take away boxing, I have a clue what I do. Honestly.
Good job you're half decent at it then, mate.
It works out right, doesn't it? It works out right.
Also, who was the first person you text today?
Good question. Can I look? Can I check?
Yeah, by all means, mate.
Let's have a look.
Some good questions actually from people.
No, that's a proper mad one. That it was I text a sponsor about a post I've got to do. Yeah, nothing really that exciting. No sexting or nothing. No nudes. My missus won't be happy.
Yeah,
I was texting a sponsor, about a post I've got to do. So,
what series are you watching at the moment?
I've just started watching BBC have got so many good crime ones. I didn't realise, right? But they've got this one called Outlaw, and it's sort of like a comedy crime one. It's quite good. It was on Gogglebox. That's how I found it. So if it's on Gogglebox, they're normally half decent.
Okay. And if you could fight 2 fighters, doesn't have to be, you know, next year, whenever. Who would you want to get in the ring with?
I'd still like to fight Idris.
What, to get you 450 grand at that house in Cornwall?
Still, yeah, just to serve up some justice. Like, so I'd say he's one of them. Another one, I'd like to fight Canelo, because I'd probably make the most money I've ever made in my whole life, and then go on a mad one after for a year.
I suppose for you though, you know, that's, you know, you go on and actually, you know, win these 3 fights. I say actually, like, you know, there's 50-50, but yeah, all being well, you know, you go out there and win, you put on a good display. I know he wants to fight in the UK at some point, but you know, you never know. You know, this time 2 years ago, if someone said to you 2 years time with Wasserman fighting on Sky Sports, that's probably how you would have felt then. Now thinking about fighting Canelo, maybe.
Yeah, like, that's the thing in boxing, it all can change so fast. Like, you're one win away from changing your whole life. And if I don't know, took a Eubank fight short notice, someone pulled out and then I beat him, it's quite feasible. I was sparring with Ryder the other day, and I seen Eddie Hearn interview, and it was like possibly he could fight Ryder.
Yeah, you can link with him.
Yeah. So it's not an obvious thing, but it's possible. You never know in the next year if it all goes well.
It sounds like, you know, Eddie Hearn actually taking the stable has done just such a good term for, like, you know, young British fighters, or, you know, coming through, that, you know, it's given them a platform.
Yeah, no, he's got to give it to Eddie Hearn, didn't you? He is pretty good. He's a good salesman. Yeah,
you know, I do. Yeah, he's, you know, you can't question his work ethic. I think that, you know, it's all, you know, well documented. He comes from money. He doesn't need to do what he does. He could easily send someone away to America, wherever he goes. But yeah, obviously he loves it. And to be honest, I think if I had his job, I wouldn't mind going Vegas all over the world every weekend.
Yeah. In the Canelo fight, yeah, he loves it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I noticed though he didn't do any post-fight interviews. I don't think they wanted him there too much. But one from me, in no particular order, like top 5 fighters, like sort of not currently, not necessarily ability, just top 5 fighters that you actually enjoy
watching.
Yeah, or just enjoy, like, you know, I quite like a few people, like, you know, with social media now, you get to see them outside of the ring, actually get to know their sort of personality, like Dillian Whyte, Conor Benn, and so on, and a few other fighters. Dennis McCann, I quite like him. But for yourself, who would you pick?
I quite like Buatsi.
Yeah.
Conor Benn, I watch. He puts stuff out on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I find it quite interesting watching his stuff. Watch Conor Benn stuff. Golovkin's probably one of my favourite fighters. It's a shame he's getting old, but he's up there, one of my favourites. That's 3. Boy, put me on the spot here. What's one of yours?
For me, I think it's pretty a bit cliche, but you know, I'm a big Fury fan. I like Conor Benn as well. I think over the last sort of 18 months, he's sort of come into his own. I think he was always like associated as Nigel Benn's son, but now I think, you know, he's just Conor Benn.
Yeah.
And I like him. Do you know what? I really want to see Wilder fight as well. I know, taking all the things that he says away, like controversial comments, but for me personally, I've said it a few times, I still think he beats every other heavyweight bar Fury. I really do. I think that Joshua gets clipped too much, and there's no way you could avoid him. You know, if Fury can't avoid him, then I think he just goes in there and just knocks all the other heavyweights out. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, more than possible. He's got plenty left, and he's got a massive heart, hasn't he? So I think with anyone, he has the chance to knock him out. So that's what makes him so exciting. But I do think Usyk beats Wilder. I like watching Usyk as well. Like, he's a bit odd. He's a bit like eccentric, isn't he? He's a bit out there. So I like watching Usyk. But I think he'd smash Wilder up.
I think, like me, for instance, and obviously again Usyk, Lomachenko. I like Dillian Whyte, I like Fury. But for me, being a 50-year-old, I still hark back to like Duran, Alan Minter, Hitman Hearns, Leonard. From that era, obviously you're a young fella at 22, but do you see any of the old reels? Who would you sort of model yourself on?
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with that era. I watched a documentary the other day of a guy called Julian Jackson.
Right, yeah.
And I just thought he was quality, mate. Like I think he was middleweight as well, and he just iced everyone. So yeah, I quite like him. I quite like Hagler, seek and destroy sort of style where he doesn't want to go to points. That's not the goal. He wants to hurt you. I like that style. So yeah, Hagler and Julian Jackson, pretty cool.
Perfect.
Was that when you was watching it in black and white, Shane?
Yeah, that's when I left TV.
I thought I'd get him on here with me. Do you know what we, two different generations. So we sort of like, different perspectives.
Who did you like growing up when you was watching boxing growing up?
Me, I liked watching. To be honest, I liked Sugar Ray Leonard. Leonard. I did like the Duran fights. It was like a different era. Obviously, we had Nigel Benn. We had.
How big was that fight, Shane, back then? How? Because you must have been. When Ben and Eubank got it on. How big was that fight back then?
Oh, it's absolutely massive. It was like, do you know what I mean? It was just, they was the two main fellas British fighting. You wouldn't have got a bigger fight. I think you used to like get Nigel Benn, Dark Destroyer come in, and it was just, to put it into words, even if I think about it now, it's sort of like goosebumps. If you watch those fights on YouTube, they are just sort of like, do you mean they go at it toe to toe? It's just like, it was a savage fight. But it was just relentless. But then you had Michael Watson, you had that fight, you had Steve Collins. They was all great fights, and I think it was an era where we had plenty of middleweight fighters. Do you know what I mean? It was to be in that era and to win titles. You was definitely something. It
was a deep division, wasn't it? You had Gerald McClellan, and yeah, that Julian Jackson as well. Herbie Hyde, yeah.
Light heavyweight Herbie Hyde was, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I used to like watching Ricky Hatton.
Yeah, again, Ricky Hatton.
Devastated when Mayweather knocked him out. Absolutely devastated.
I was literally in tears. I must have been. I must have been about 13 or something like that. I've never been so heartbroken in my life. I was convinced Hatton was going to win. Didn't have a clue who Mayweather was. Stayed up and everything, and yeah, that was a soul destroying, that one. Heartbreak.
I think back then as well, social media weren't. I don't even think if Facebook was about. I can't remember what year it was, but I'm with you, mate. Like I watched that thinking, oh, he beat this fella, but then as we all know now, Mayweather, one of the best ever. But yeah, when he went down, I was like, oh no. It's like when Fury went down in the 12th round against Wilder. I was like, oh no. But obviously he got back up, and the rest is history. But just before we finish up, Brad, is there anyone like sponsors, anyone sort of helped you recently? I know your sponsors are back on board. You've been able to quit your job. Anyone you sort of just want to say thank you to or give a shout out to?
Yeah, it's hard. I've got quite a lot and I always miss one out. But Bristol Beach Bar, Jack Construction, Ocean Construction, Barber Lounge, Bristol Beach Hotel, Steve's Tattooist, findanyworker.com. I've missed a few as well. It's hard. Look at my social media; they're all on there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as well. Everyone watching this, go and follow you on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all the other platforms that you're on. And when are we going to hear about your fight date? Is that close? I know we did touch
Friday. I've got to know Friday if it's this year. I'll either know if it's happening or it's not. So definitely Friday.
Okay, perfect. Well, listen, mate. We know you're a busy man. We're very grateful for you giving up some of your time this evening. I imagine you're up early again, training tomorrow, ticking over. So yeah, we're very grateful for having you on. And yeah, hopefully when you fight, hopefully it's this year. We'd like to get you back on at some point if that's all right with you.
Mate, anytime. Let me know. We'll set it up. It's been an absolute pleasure, boys. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll let you know when I'm fighting, and then I'll make sure I win, so I can definitely come on to the next one. Because if I lose, you won't have me on.
Yeah, if that O goes, mate, we don't want anything to do with that.
This loser, get him off the show.
Yeah, no, mate. Me and Shane are hopefully as well looking to do face-to-face stuff as well going forward. So, maybe we can sort that out at some point. Because we're only in Kent, so you're in Essex. It's not that far, really. Anything else you want to add, Shane?
No, that's about it, really. I was just like buzzing to have him on the show tonight. Nice to see you. We just got to sort of like wish you the best of luck. Do you mean going forward? We hope you get the 3 wins. We'd like to see you get the 3 wins, extend that contract, and sort of going to bigger and better things. To be honest, once we see you as like a middleweight champion, then it's even more kudos when we get you back on.
Yeah, always welcome. You've always got me. No
Cool.
problem.
Young British fighter, mate. Yeah, we wish you all the best. But all right, then, mate, we'll let you crack on. Thanks again, and I'll give you a shout tomorrow when it's up and on the channel.
Yeah, I'll share it and tag you up and all that stuff. No problem.
Lovely. All right, then, all the best. Have a good one.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
Lovely. Nice to meet you. Ta-da.
Cheers, boy.